I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay.
The bank holiday weekend didn't get off to the start that we would have liked, but today we have the opportunity to make sure that it ends with smiles on our faces. It was a very happy valley the last time we played at home, so let's go out there and rediscover that feel-good factor. We welcome Burton Albion, who, unlike us, had a fantastic start to their weekend with a victory against promotion chasing Barnsley on Friday. The Brewers look set to be involved in a relegation scrap this spring, but some fantastic recent form has pulled them away from danger. Their January business, which saw them take 3 players from SE7, has certainly helped them in their quest to achieve League One survival. It now looks like they'll have a comfortable end to the campaign. As it is a bank holiday, we are live streaming today's game worldwide, including in the UK and Ireland. And remember that if you are watching on the Charlton app, you can cast today's game onto your smart TV from your mobile or tablet. We have got a packed pre-game show to bring you before kick-off, so here is a taster of what is to come. We're here exclusively from manager Dean Holden, who I spoke to a little earlier this afternoon. We've got a former Addicts captain with us today, so we will be taking a trip down memory lane with him. And Manny Egbo returns to the starting 11 for the first time since the end of October this afternoon following his injury, so we will hear from him shortly. And what an Easter weekend it has been for me. Not once but twice do I get the pleasure of Brownie and Curbs in the studio. Good to have you guys. How was your Easter Sunday? How's your weekend been?
Gardening. What about you?
Babysitting.
Babysitting and gardening. There you go.
So we've got you out for the football.
No eggs. Kids didn't. We get the kids' eggs, nothing for us. Not even a bar of chocolate.
Not even a bar of chocolate, Brownie?
No.
That's got that off their mum.
No, we had egg on everything.
Yeah, no.
It's surprising when they were in a tree.
Did you get quite competitive for that when the Easter egg was unfolding?
No, my granddaughter, she was flying all around the garden and she was looking everywhere. But there was one in a tree up there. She never looked up there until I had to point it out.
Well, it's great to have you here because we're completing the end of the bank holiday with a home fixture. We were obviously in the studio together on Friday. It was a really funny game, wasn't it, Brown? It was incredibly flat. The handball penalty decided the game, so an opportunity to put that right this afternoon.
Absolutely, got to bounce back, haven't you? You know, and try and finish the season with a strong mentality. But yeah, I thought it was a disappointing game. You use the word flat. I thought we could have been a little bit more adventurous. You know, on reflection, looking back, I thought we could have made some changes perhaps a little bit earlier. Could have gone for the game a little bit quicker than we did, and we reacted too late. We reacted after conceding, and we had a positive last 5 or 6 minutes. But it was a poor performance.
Kebs, you spoke from your experience about how those games can make you feel when you're a manager. I think the mindset from Dean has been get back from Bristol, get back on the training ground and shake off that display. Are you expecting many changes to the starting 11 or perhaps the style in which we go out to play?
First thing, it's certainly for a young manager, if you like, you start to comprehend that you can play like you did against Shrewsbury, then a week later, you know, the same team goes out and it's so flat. And sometimes it happens and you can't really put your finger on it. So then what do? Do you make lots of changes? Do you make a couple or leave it as it is? So I'll be interested to see the team selection today. Me personally, I think that he'd probably keep it as much as he can, the same, because I think last week could have been out there for, 90 minutes and we never looked as if we were going to score. So no, just got to erase that game and hopefully get back to it today.
Brownie, you'll be commentating on today's game with Terry and Greg. Burton Albion, rather ironically with help from some players from our squad, have really climbed out of a relegation scrap. I mean, in some good form. They'll be buoyed from their result on Friday. What kind of test can Charlton supporters expect from them today?
Well, I think obviously they're more desperate for the points than we are. They're 7 points above relegation, and they've done a remarkable job actually to get themselves out of it. It was such a terrible start to the year to the season for them. Like you say, they've got a couple of our players. I don't think Charlie Kirk can play, can he?
No. And right. Sam Lavell's injured as well.
And Sam's been injured for a few weeks, hasn't he now? Yeah. So, you know, it'd be good to see Craig. You know, he didn't do a lot wrong here. I just think it was a change of manager who wanted a different style of keeper, and that happens in football. you know, and Craig's, you know, gone up there and is playing well for them now. So, yeah, I think they've had a very good turnaround in form. You know, I think over the last 5 games, if you did the form guide over the last 5, we're level pegging. If you did over the last 10, Burton are actually in better form than we are. So it just depends what perspective you want to look at that from. But they've got goals in their side. They don't have one out and out, you know, 15, 20 goal a season, man, but they have lots of players contributing 5s and 3s.
It's interesting that they've done so well in a January transfer window. You know, but you don't actually see Burton's quite attractive, do you, really? But, you know, to get Charlie Kirk there and Lavelle and others, they've done ever so well to do that.
Well, maybe they've kind of shrewdly recruited a few players that haven't had good starts to the season for themselves, and they've kind of taken that and embedded that into Burton and helped them out of that battle. Well, we have got so much to look forward to ahead of kick-off. The atmosphere is building behind us at the Valley. So let's find out who Dean is going to name in his starting 11. I caught up with the gaffer earlier on this afternoon. Well, Dean, thank you so much for joining me. A quick turnaround from Friday. So how are we going to be lining up today?
2 changes from the starting team. Stephen Session, we know historical issues with his knee, so he's not able to be in the squad today. And Miles Leaburn just got a whack right towards guys that seen the game at Bristol. He took a whack right in front of the dugout, didn't he, just towards the end, and it looked quite serious. And we've had that scanned over the weekend, and it's not as bad as we first thought, which is really pleasing. So we missed today's game, but there's an outside chance he might be available for Ipswich at the weekend. So Macaulay Bonne comes in up front, and we welcome Manny Egbo back in at right back. So really excited to see Manny. He's been fantastic since I came through the door. I've not seen him play yet, obviously live, but he's been in and around training. He's got some minutes in the under-21, so Manny comes back in, and Todd Kane returns to the bench again, which is another, like the London buses, there's 2 of them back.
And what are you looking for the players who are coming into the team today to bring to your starting 11?
Well, we want to start off where we finished here a week or so back. I mean, Friday's game was disappointing in terms of the end result. The performance wasn't quite at the level that we wanted, but having said that, we still had the better chances in the game. We've restricted the opposition really to the one outside chance, and then they've won it from a penalty. So, you know, we weren't quite at it. We have to accept that, and we've refreshed us as much as we could over the weekends. A quick turnaround, as you say. But it's a mentality thing, that, you know, the more you talk about that, the more it becomes self-fulfilling. So we've tried to not, you know, go too deep with the players on that. It was a case of getting out of Bristol as quick as we could, get back, rest up. Obviously not had any real time on the training pitch, but, you know, the boys have proved in recent weeks that they're up for the battle for the rest of the season. We know what Burton are going to bring today. We know exactly how they're going to show up, and probably similar to a little bit to Shrewsbury and Wickham in terms of that physical nature. So, you know, we did handle that side of the game really well against them 2 teams. So we have to make sure we do that today, and then we can play our style and play our game.
With that being said, the Easter weekend's a bit unique, isn't it, given the games in quick proximity? So what has been your kind of key messages to the players since that game at Bristol? Refocus.
We've got no divine right to win any game of football. You've got to turn up and do the business each and every week, and that's what we've done more often than not recently. As I say, we're on the flip of a coin at Bristol Rovers in terms of the results, so we go again.
Burton have pulled themselves away from a relegation battle. They're on a good run of form. What kind of test are you expecting from them this afternoon?
Well, they're a team that like the physical side of the game. I've known the manager for a long time, and his background. I think they're a team that will run. When the ball goes forward, they'll ask questions of our defence, they'll turn us around, they'll get up the pitch, and they commit numbers forward, so we've got to make sure we match that in terms of midfield runners. Having said that, if we can, you know, make sure that we win the second ball game, which is a big part of it today, and then we can tidy up and play our game. We know that there's weaknesses in their backline. They've conceded 71 goals, they've conceded so many goals from crosses, from cutbacks, so we've talked about that. Macaulay Bonne's in for that reason today, so looking forward to it.
Putting that narrow loss aside on Friday, hopefully the fans have had a nice long week and come here to the Valley in good spirits. And what is your message to them finally?
Well, hopefully they can get here, most of them, which is obviously a problem at Bristol, which is really disappointing. I got a message off one of the guys, his son's been to every single game and obviously missed out through no fault of his own, so that was disappointing, weren't it, for them? And they obviously watched the game on the bus, I think, on the way back, which couldn't have been much fun either. So, you know, it's up to us to give them something to shout about today. They've been fantastic, certainly in recent weeks here. I'm sure they'll be buoyed by the result against Shrewsbury, but, you know, it's another game, it's a different type of game. Let's get on the right end of a win.
Dean, thank you for your time and good luck today.
Thank you.
So there we have it, confirmation of today's starting 11. Curbs, 2 changes made. Fantastic to see Manny Egbo making a start in the team, and Macaulay Bonne leading the line due to Miles. He took a really heavy knock, didn't he, on Friday?
He sort of tried to ride the tackle, didn't he, but then ended up getting caught and carried on, which, you know, we was looking at that thinking, should he have come off, but he carried on. But listen, Macaulay Bonne needs a couple of performances, and, you know, to give the manager a problem, and you know, obviously don't want Miles out, but you know, now it's happened. He came on and scored last week. He needed to score, and so let's see what he's got to offer us, because you know, I think Dean needs to have a good look at him before the end of the season. And Egbo's been sorely missed as far as I'm concerned. I thought he'd done ever so well when he first came to the club, so it's good to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. A first start since October for him. Let's have a little look at the league table now. And despite Friday's defeat, we remain in 12th place, as you can see there. So we only need to look at the top half of the table. We're still just 3 points behind 10th place Shrewsbury Town, who were beaten by Peterborough United on Friday. That is now 3 defeats on the bounce for the Shrews. At the very top, it was a significant start to the weekend for the top 3. Plymouth and Ipswich both won to leapfrog Sheffield Wednesday into the top 2. Wednesday were held at struggling Oxford, meaning that is now 6 without a win for them. They're level on points with Ipswich, but have played a game more. Portsmouth and Wycombe both dropped points on Friday, the latter getting thrashed at Ipswich and the former being held at MK Dons, which has all but ended their playoff hopes. Bolton Wanderers, Peterborough and Derby all won, keeping them all level on points. So that playoff chase looks like it could go down to the wire. As we said on Friday, it's impossible to predict now, but if your team were placed between 1st and 7th, what would your message be before they head out to the tunnel?
Well, it's all sorts of different pressures when you're going for promotion, as against perhaps battling away against relegation. And you can see, like a club like Sheffield Wednesday not winning for 5 or 6 games, suddenly coming under pressure. Barnsley getting well beaten by Burton. You know, they've been having a good time of it. I just think, I'm looking at them clubs, they're so big in this league. And keep looking at us, but you know, look at the other clubs, and I think now Ipswich will go on and do it. I think they've got the squad and got the support. I'm not too sure about Plymouth. I don't know if they're going to have a wobble, but I think it's out of them 3, obviously, to go straight up.
Well, one person who knows many things about momentum, carrying a team into the side, is Jason Pearce, who I'm delighted to say is alongside me now. Piercy, when you look at that league table as well, it must be up there as one of the most exciting playoff and promotion chasing races.
No, 100%. I think it's always, I think the top teams, having been up there as well as a player, it's always hard to be at the top and stay there. When you're one of the chasing teams looking to try and get in there, so it's I don't know, if the team that picks up the most momentum towards the end of the season normally does well. And I look at that and I think, yeah, I think Curbs is right. I think Plymouth, it'd be interesting to see if they have a wobble, but they've done well. I think Ipswich, like Curbs has alluded to, I think they got strength in depth and they look really strong. Sheffield Wednesday, I think will end up being up there as well. So, but then yeah, like you said, there's some real top teams. I think if it's the team that hits the form, the best bit of form towards the end of the season, going into the playoffs, that normally does well. And sometimes it's the one that just nicks into the playoffs that actually ends up getting into the final and they're doing well because they're on the momentum. So it's really exciting. It's just for me, looking at that, it's just frustrating. We're nowhere near it.
Yeah. No, it is frustrating indeed. And you make the point about momentum because, of course, when you were captain here, that's exactly what happened for us. I'm looking at a side like Sheffield Wednesday, when they came here, had been on that incredible, historic, unbeaten run and now can't seem to get a win. It's such a funny thing. What's the mentality like for a group of players when you've had that incredible run, it's come to an end, and then you just can't seem to pick up that 3 points? Do you think that will be a bit triggering for them?
Well, I think with the group they've got, I think they'll be all right because they've got some real quality and depth and some experience in that squad. So I think once they get that win, which I think they will quite quickly, I think it just goes to show that even with that experience, the pressures that comes from being at the top and chasing to try and get the top spot, it still affects some of the experienced players. But I just feel that once they get that result, they'll steamroll it, to be honest. I think they're one of the top teams.
Yeah, definitely one of the strongest sides I think I've seen this season. And as on Friday, there is a full League One programme this afternoon with all 12 games kicking off at 3 p.m. There is another tough-looking game for Shrewsbury, who head to Barnsley. Barnsley will be looking to bounce back from their defeat on Friday to Burton, who we, of course, face this afternoon. Cambridge have won their last 2 games to move within 3 points of safety. They head to Bolton today. Saturday, and the teams they need to catch are Accrington Stanley, who visit Sheffield Wednesday, and Oxford United, who go to Port Vale. Ipswich, who we face on Saturday, head west to Cheltenham, while table-topping Plymouth welcome Lincoln City to Home Park. Curbs, any games standing out amongst those for you?
Well, I'm just looking at the teams we've been talking about who are chasing promotion. They look like they've got games that they're going to take the points, don't they? So it may be as you were at the top. I do generally look at the teams that are struggling down the bottom, because you don't like to see that, do you? But I can't see many of them getting too many points this afternoon. So I think the big teams will come out in front today.
And Piercy, it looks like your former club Portsmouth will be with us in League One again next season. It's really important, isn't it, when you look at our position and theirs, to make sure that you try and end the season as strongly as possible?
Yeah, definitely. I think the season, obviously we got promoted the season before that. We had quite a poor season, quite indifferent, quite inconsistent, a little bit like we have been this year, but we finished the season, I think it was like 5 wins or a real strong end to the season, and then we hit the ground running the next season. So I think it can have that little bit of momentum, and it helps going into the following season to show that we can do it. So the run that the club been on, obviously bar the game just gone, shows that we are starting to pick up some momentum, getting some consistency of players playing. So yeah, I'm hopeful that a few additions and we'll be all right.
Now, before we move on to club news, I feel like I really made a savage substitution getting Brownie out and bringing you in, because you were with the under-18s taking training this morning, and I feel like you have made the transition from player to coach to manager so seamlessly. How have you found it?
No, I think I was preparing for it anyway. So for like 6 years, while I've been at the football club, I've been doing a lot of coaching with the under-16s, like in the evenings every week. So I've been learning how to do take sessions and put sessions on, and fortunately the players that I've been working with at that level are now the under-18. So I had a relationship with them straight away going into it, and obviously I started off as an assistant, and I felt that was the best for me. And obviously the lead coach left, and they offered me the role to lead it. So whether or not I was ready, I've enjoyed working with them, and I've got a real good relationship with the players, and looking forward to ending the season on a high and hopefully winning the league.
Yeah, we've seen from recent results and some snippets here on Charlton TV, the team are doing really, really well. And Curbs, I'll pose the question to you, because if I was a young coach going into the game like Piercy, I would want to ask a manager like you, what tip would you give? What's the best piece of advice that Jason can take? It's what we hope is going to be a long career.
Well, the good thing is he can still demonstrate. That's the other thing. So the young lads are looking and go, well, go on then, show us, and he can. That really helps. So when me and Gritty took over, we was still playing.
Yeah.
So we was one of the lads really when we took over. But I always remember when I got the job and I phoned a couple of senior managers up and going, you got any advice for me? And one of them went, just win games. That's all you got to do. Just win games. That was Al Wilkinson at Leeds. He went, just win some games, you'll be all right.
But it's good advice to take indeed. And we will be taking a trip down memory lane with you later on, Jason. So we've got that to look forward to. But for now, let's bring you some news from around the football club. And as always, we're going to start with ticketing news, and fans are reminded that season tickets for the 2023-24 season are on sale. Adult season tickets start from just £285 each, which equates to less than £12.50 per match, and you can get yours online, in person, by phone or by post now by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. Season tickets for our popular Valley Express coach service are now also available, and we'll have news on women's team season tickets and seasonal hospitality to come later this week, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. After today and before our full focus turns to next season, let's not forget that we still have 2 home games to come later this month. Morecambe visit the Valley on April the 22nd, with our final home fixture of this season being against Port Vale on Saturday, April the 29th. Both games kick off at 3 p.m, and you can get your tickets for them now by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. The first few Charlton legends have confirmed their attendance for the club's upcoming Legends game on Saturday, May the 20th. The event, which will conclude our 30 years back at the Valley celebrations, will see a team of Charlton legends take on a team of Portsmouth legends, with Pompey, of course, being our first opponents at the Valley following our return home in December 1992. The following players are set to take part, with many more to be announced in due course: Kevin Lisby, John Humphrey, John Fortune, Bob Boulder, Peter Garland and Gary Nelson, all confirmed. Can we add Jason Pearce to that list? You fancy sticking your boots out again and getting involved?
Now, Keith asked me that the other day, and Keith Peacock, and I said if we win the league and we get into the Nationals, the final's on the 20th.
Oh, so we actually hope that you can't be involved. That's amazing.
That's a good excuse.
I'd prefer us to get to the national finals and win that.
Well, absolutely. It's still going to be a fantastic occasion to be a part of, and potentially a very important day for the football club as well, if Pearcey's boys can make it to that stage of the competition. Let's move you back to more club news, because we do have our Player of the Year event coming up. You can now vote for both your men's and women's team Player of the Year by heading to cafc.co.uk, and you can also get your tickets for the club's annual end of season meal too. Tickets for the meal, which will take place on Sunday, April the 30th at the Valley, are priced at £45 each, and that price does include entry and the cost of your food as well. Meal tickets can be purchased from booking.cafc.co.uk. And staying on the subject of voting, we would encourage all fans to show their support for defender Steven Sessegnon by voting for him to win the EFL's Sky Bet League One Goal of the Month award for March. His stunning strike against Accrington Stanley has been nominated, and you have until 5 p.m. today to cast your vote, so don't waste any time. The link to vote is available on cafc.co.uk, and it would certainly be a very worthy winner indeed. And a date has been confirmed for Charlton Under-21's London Senior Cup quarter-final tie against Barking. The young Addicts, who edged past Welling United on Tuesday night, will head to Maysbrook Park Stadium on Tuesday, April the 18th, with the game kicking off at 7:45 p.m. Ticketing information for the tie will be released in due course. And finally, the Charlton women's team will be back in action here at the Valley on Sunday when they take on Durham in the Barclays Women's Championship. The clash kicks off at midday, and tickets are priced at £10 for adults and £5 for concession. Karen Hills' side still have a chance, albeit a very, very slim one, of winning the league, so it would be great if we could get a good crowd down here to support them. Right, back to today now, and next week, long-serving head groundsman at the training ground, Paul Geary, will be hanging up his pitchfork after 29 years of service at the football club. He spoke with James Sherwood earlier on today.
A gentleman I know very well, head groundsman at the training ground, Paul Geary. It's a pleasure to have you here, my man, but we're not going to talk the green stuff today. We're actually paying tribute to you, because after 29 years, you are retiring from Charlton Athletic. But to start things off, I want to pull it all the way back to day one, when you first stepped into the training ground at Sparrows Lane. Take me back, Paul. What was that like?
Yeah, quite an intimidating environment to walk into for the first day, but I was a little bit lucky because all the players were still off. They hadn't come back for pre-season training, but I remember the building being painted, and we, like, all the boot room boys, as it was then, were kind of just getting involved, and it was a bit of a strange environment really, because it wasn't something that I wasn't used to. But settled in quite quick. All the guys that I met and all the staff were so friendly, and it kind of really made you feel welcome straight away. And I think that's kind of set the tone for me being there so long. I think you experienced it when you worked there for a short time as well. It was such a unique environment that was created that it was like Hotel California. You just kind of didn't want to leave.
It's a very family-orientated environment, and particularly because I was there in the Premier League days, and you think about the stature of the club then, but it was still a real family feel amongst the staff, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it really was, and that was a testament, I think, to the hierarchy and the ownership at the time. I remember when I first began, it was like Roger Allwyn and later Richard Murray, and with Martin Simons as well. Those people just created, like, you know, people to be able to just enjoy your work, and it was kind of, like I say, it was a unique environment, and it was almost like it was enclosed, and it was special. Yeah, it took a bit of getting used to, but it was a special time. Just
so people can picture as well, I know we talked about coming back to the Valley and how this place has changed, but what was Sparrows Lane like back then in 1994, and how different is it today?
Okay, I'd say it's half the size as I'll rephrase that. It's double the size it is now. Yeah. So the club went on and bought 2 extra sports grounds. They bought the one next door, which was Footscray Rugby Club, a section of that, and then they bought Pippin Sports and Social Club, which I think you know quite well.
Yeah.
Up that end. So we almost became 3 sports grounds in a row. So it effectively doubled in size, and that. You know, with that, the staff grew. So when I first started, it was just me. Then it grew to now there's a team of 6, and that's, you know, with that development and the redevelopment of the artificial pitches that we have in there now under Roland, and then and now further development with Thomas with the women's team, it just has become, it becomes like a vehicle that you've got to try to drive. It's, you know, it's very, very different. Football's different too.
Oh, we're battling the PA system there a little bit. But there we go, we're back. But talking about how it's changed, though, as well, tell me about some of your highlights across these 29 years as well, Paul.
A lot of highlights. So there's football-related highlights and there's non-football-related highlights. The football-related highlights is I think one of my earlier memories, I think, was over at Millwall in the snow, where we beat them 2-0 over the new Den as it was then. That was apparently Charlton really didn't beat Millwall too often back in those days. Yeah, and that was a special night. And then obviously the 97-98 season with the promotion, and Clive's season where he got the hat-trick at Wembley, and then I think, well, we got relegated the following season, but we went up again but won the league. And a lot of the players stayed and got kept together, so they won the league, and then the Premiership years, which you know about, and you know, there's a lot of football in between that, and then you kind of remember, you know, recently that the Doncaster semi-final here was unbelievable. It's just, place was bouncing. I don't think I've ever seen it like that. Maybe even surpassed that 3-3 draw against Manchester United. I think when Robbo scored, I think, the equaliser, and it you know, the place erupted. But that semi-final was unbelievable.
Let me ask you a question as a groundsman, though. What happens when all the fans come on the pitch after the game? What goes through your head?
If I'm honest, it wasn't my pitch to worry about, so I think I was out there with them a little bit. I didn't particularly. I don't think anyone was worried at that particular time because of what was happening. And then the Wembley, well, we know what happened there, last-minute winner. You can't write that. It's fantastic.
Also, talking about a personal, non-footballing highlight, you hosted the England team down at Sparrows Lane as well. And that must have been a bit of a battle, because it must be one of the few training grounds in the world that has a public footpath running alongside it and through it. What was that like, hosting pitches for the England team?
Well, I think the security staff would probably say that was more challenging than probably the job that we had. The fact that the training ground gets very wet and still gets quite wet, that the England team came in February, so there was quite a few sleepless nights when they came in, thinking, we're going to be playable, It was close. We had a lot of things on standby. Machinery came in to help us out that came through with the England setup, so that was all good. I just can't quite remember the year, whether it was 03 or 05, but I know it was Sven, and we had a few players in the team, the England team as well then. So that was but I think, looking back, I think I've had England at every level, you know, from the women's to the first team, 21s, 19s, 18s, 17s, even under 16s. I found a pennant the other day when I was clearing some stuff out, an under 16s one with I think it's got Jordan Pickford's signature on it. So that's nice. You know, a long time ago. But you know, there's things like that. That was good memories. Argentina.
I mean, real testament to you, Paul, I guess, is as a groundsman, you know, where do you want to end up? If you're talking Premier League, hosting pitches for the international team as well, it's going to live long in the memory. Yeah, I think you do feel really lucky, but you don't set out like that. So the way I see it is that, you know, I'm there, we're there to prepare pitches for anyone that's using them, for any age group. You don't try any
you don't try any less because it might be an under nines game or the England setup. You might have to adjust your thinking a little bit because it's a little bit more high profile, but you don't try any less. And I always thought that you're a professional football club. It matters not what division you're in, whether in your Premier League or whether in League Two. They're still professional, so you've still got to do what you need to do, regardless of what division you're in. But to get the highlights of the Premier League like we did have, and hopefully, you know, we get back there, and yeah, it's just different. You've just got to enjoy the journey, really. Take the stress, but enjoy the journey.
Tears coming down my eyes, not because of the reminiscing, but it's just it's cold air and they're running down. But just to end, we've got Curbs and Jason Pearce up in the studio. Wow. Any personal highlights with those two that have happened down the years at Sparrows Lane? Yeah.
Piercy, obviously, with that, you know, that picture that we see at the training ground when you come in, with the winner at Wembley. Yeah. And him being the skipper, that's great. And having a relationship with him now, he's under 18s. That's kind of continuing. And he was always a top guy. And with Curbs, he just set the tone with that culture that we were talking about, with the ownership and how we were as a group. So there's the players and the staff, but the staff was so tight, and we used to kind of socialise together a little bit as well, which created that environment, and so much used to go on. There was golf days and table tennis, and it was like a big youth club really, and it was great. And that's kind of one of the things that's kept me there so long. And I'm just older now, and time perhaps for me just to have a little bit of a change.
Well, Paul, even though you will be leaving us after 29 years, it's been an absolute pleasure. We want to say thank you for your service to the football club, and we hope to see you in the stand every now and again. Thank you very much for your time and your efforts on the Hello Turf, Paul Geary. Back over to you now, Charlotte.
Thank you very much, guys. Wow, 29 years of service. I think you can see all that passion and love for the football club coming out in that interview as well there, which is absolutely fantastic. Right, Jason, are you ready to take a trip down memory lane?
Should we have a little look?
Let's take a look back at some of the highlights of your time at the football club, and going straight to the very start, really. You'd been at Wigan for 18 months and had won promotion in that time. How did your move come about to the club?
It was basically we got promoted that year, and they basically said that I wasn't good enough to play Championship. So the manager sort of said he wasn't going to freeze me out, but he did freeze me out. And then I just thought I'm not going to be one of them players that sits there and takes money and just sits and not plays. I wanted to go and forge a career, and unfortunately Charlton come in for me, who were in League One at the time, and I thought it was a big club, a family club, and it was closer to home where I'm from. I couldn't wait to get down here, and I was buzzing to move, really.
It's really refreshing to hear you say that kind of hunger and appetite that you want all professional footballers to have. So it's probably no surprise that at every club you played at, you quickly received the armband, which proved to be the case here. Was it always something from your kind of very early days playing that you wanted to make part of your game, that leadership style and ability to set the tone for those teammates around you and yourself?
I don't think necessarily I wanted to be the captain, but it was just the way I was as a person. I always tried to lead by example in the way I performed, and trying to consistent in my performance. I was just tried to be a good person, not off the pitch, and help people, really, and that was all I was like, and I've never changed. So I obviously want to take that now into coaching and have them relationships with the players.
We've seen your goals against Shrewsbury and Blackburn there. Obviously, you were keeping clean sheets, but also, known to come up with a goal or two as well in your time.
Yeah, I saw one of them there come off me bottom and went in to take them ones. take them. I remember this one, yeah. This one coming up now. And
let's have a little look at some more of these goals. So this was against Burton, who, of course, we're playing today.
Yeah, so I remember this goal. Just gambled really on the flick on and managed to keep it on target, so I was pleased with that. This one was more of a striker's finish, this one. Getting in behind and taking it.
Oh, brilliant. And I just wanted to ask you, really, after that season where we did miss out on the playoffs, as players and a squad, how quickly were you able almost to mourn that and then bottle the frustration to take into the season that followed? And of course, we have another goal up our sleeve to share as well that involved you.
I think we knew we sort of underachieved, not being right up there, and I think obviously with a couple of additions, we knew we'd be a strong outfit moving into next season. So it was something, obviously frustrating, and maybe we weren't quite ready that season. But you take that momentum that we finished the season off and we knew we were ready going into the next season.
Curbs, we spoke about earlier on in the show about the teams in the playoff pack this season having that momentum. It was very similar back in the season in 2000, wasn't it, for your team, building that momentum, being that team that has the wind behind their sails, so to speak. Is there any way of kind of managing and manoeuvring that process, or do you have to ride with it?
I think the playoff year, we went into it, as Piercy said earlier, we went into it late, and I think Sunderland have been in there for some time and just missed out, and then suddenly we've gone in there all nice and fresh, and didn't have no pressure on us really. So yeah, I think I went to when Lee was in charge the final at Wembley, and you just felt that we were not the team under pressure. Sunderland were that day, and their fans going, "Oh no, here we go again," and so no, I think momentum is a massive thing, and I think I don't know what Dean's view is on the running now, because I've been saying for some time, put some kids in, let's have a look at some kids, but there's enough kids in there already. We've got a sprinkling of kids at the moment, so can we build some momentum and finish the season strongly, which makes us more attractive in the summer if we're trying to loan players or buy players or whatever, that we actually finish strongly and have a good running. So that's why I'm interested to see what Dean does between now and the end of the season, because obviously people like Piercy will be advocating, do you fancy giving him a chance? Let's see what we've got. But he wants to win games, so it's a bit difficult at the moment.
Curbs, you mentioned playoff final. Both of you share very fond memories at Wembley. So let's take a look at perhaps one of the best goals in recent years. And Piercy, obviously all the spotlight goes to Patrick Bauer, but let's not forget the part you played in this goal.
No, to be fair, this is the relationship that myself and Pat had, that we built up, and we knew exactly what each other were going to do. And in that moment, obviously people won't be able to see it, but I've held the guy down, and Pat called for it, and I had full trust that he was going to come through and head the ball, which obviously he did do, and then reacted quickest to go and put it in the net. But a fantastic moment for the club for sure. Yeah.
I bet it never tires watching that clip back, and I just wondered, what for you, amongst all of the kind of seasons and chapters of your career, but here at the Valley, what stands out as a real highlight to you?
That was it. I mean, that day was mad for me personally, because I was the captain of the club. I started the game on the bench, which I was disappointed to be, but I could have obviously gone two ways, and this is what I try and say to the under-18s: when you're not playing, you can go two ways about it. You can sulk about it and not be ready for the opportunity when it comes. But I knew the person I was disappointed, but I wanted to show my frustration and disappointment when I get an opportunity. And fortunately for me, the first half didn't go as well as planned, and then I got my opportunity to come on at half time, and I think because I was well prepared mentally and physically, I took the opportunity and was able to play my part in helping the club get promotion.
It's a funny old game, football, isn't it? And big players step up in big moments, and we're so thrilled to have you in the studio, and I hope you enjoyed that little trip down memory lane.
It's good, yeah, it's nice to see.
It's going to be great to get your take on this game, and also ask you a little bit more about your coaching later on in the show as well. But for now, Jason mentioned there frustration, and perhaps that's one word that can be used for Manny Egbo, out injured since October. He is back in the starting 11 today. I spoke to Manny earlier on. Manny, thank you so much for joining me. You're back in the starting 11 today for the first time since your injury. We are so excited to see you play, and you must be really looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, I'm over the moon. I've been waiting. It's been a long few months out, and then getting back into training, getting fit and getting sharp. So I feel ready, and I'll hopefully be able to go out there and get up and down like I've never been away.
We've had a lovely bank holiday weekend, plenty of sunshine, but the conditions out there are a little bit different today, but actually quite nice conditions for a game of football.
I would much rather play in the rain and get the a bit of the wetness on the surface than play how they played against Bristol the other day in that heat. So no, I'm buzzing, probably get a few slide tackles out there, get stuck in, and yeah, love a bit of a rainy surface.
And we had a great result here at the Valley last time out. How do we put the disappointment of Friday to one side to make sure that we have another good afternoon to look forward to?
Well, it was a game on Friday. It was it was thin margins, and could have gone either way in the end. It was decided on the pen, so probably deserved a draw. Could have been the better team. We'll take the positives out of that game, and obviously the one before, the 6 goals and the clean sheet, and we'll try to give the Valley crowd and the covered end another showing like that.
It's probably fair to say it's been a frustrating season for you so far. How much do you want to have a strong end from a personal point of view?
No, of course, it's been very frustrating. It's been a bit unlucky, and kind of trying to catch up on missed time. So yeah, hopefully get a good last few games in, end the season well personally and from a team point of view, and then it's all guns blazing next year.
It's Burton Albion this afternoon. What kind of test are you expecting from them today?
We know what kind of a team they are. We know what type of a gaffer they got and how he likes them to set up, and they're having a decent run of form at the minute and a good. Probably a shock win the other day against Barnsley, so they'll come in confident. Obviously got a few players that can't play today because they're actually our lads, and obviously Macca in goal, who's a top keeper and probably got a bit of a point to prove as well. So it's going to be a tough outfit, but we know what we need to do to get over the line today.
Well, best of luck and enjoy it.
Thank you so much appreciated.
Fantastic to hear from Manny there. I'm going to put a timer on to see how long it takes before that first sliding tackle. But Curbs, you know what's really refreshing sometimes? You can forget just how much it impacts upon an individual. When they have an innocuous injury, sometimes it's not always apparent to supporters, but he has been grafting away at the training ground, he's back, and he just had a bit of an awe around him in the interview. You can see him warming up there, and maybe that's a bit of impetus at this kind of end of the season for the team as well.
Oh, he done very well, didn't he, when he came into the side, signed in the summer, and he sort of run back into the box and fell over, didn't he? When that sort of injury happens, it is a lot worse than perhaps you think at first, and he's took his time to get back. Hopefully he can get a run now, and between now and the end of the season, and then get a good pre-season under his belt and come back really strong next year.
Piercy, what's your take on perhaps that right-back role? Because we've had to utilise a lot of central defenders in that position, whether it be on the left and the right. I think what we've noticed Manny gives is a lot of balance when he does play in that role. Some of our squad are so versatile, they perhaps make it look easier than it is. What's your take on it?
I think it'd be good. I think you want that consistency, especially in a back four. You need that consistency of knowing who you're playing with. So Manny, I think he's very solid defensively, but he's decent going forward as well. So he's got a little bit of balance about how he plays. Whereas I think when people fill in, sometimes there might be areas of their game that's not so good. So I think as a right back, I think first and foremost, or full back, you need to be able to defend. But having said that, you need to be able to attack and do both nowadays. So he's certainly someone that's quite a modern day full back who can do both.
Well, Dean made the point, didn't he, in his pre-match interview about how Burton Albion can look a little bit vulnerable from crosses. Perhaps that's why Manny has been employed in that role. Don't forget that you can contact us here in the Charlton TV studio. If you have a question for Piercy or Curbs that you would like me to pose, then do get in contact with us and give us your thoughts as well ahead of this game against Burton Albion. The players are beginning to make their way onto the field of play. So let's have a little look at the starting 11. If you are just joining us, then there are two changes for the Addicts from the side that suffered a narrow defeat on Friday. The man that we have been talking about, Manny Egbo, into the side, and Macaulay Bonne leading the line. Jason, what are your thoughts on that starting 11?
No, I think it's quite a strong starting 11, to be honest. I'm looking forward to seeing potentially an Egbo and a Raksaki linking up down the right if obviously Jez plays on the right. It'd be nice for Macca, obviously, like Curb said, he got a goal the other day, and it'd be nice for him to build on that. I think he's someone that needs to build on that confidence. He's fighting for his career, not career, but a contract. So again, but yeah, it'd be nice. I haven't seen Terrell play left back too much, but I know he's done quite well. So no, I think I'm optimistic today.
Curbs, you look out there and the people that have come out on their bank holiday, Easter Monday, to come and support the boys. We want more of the same of last time, don't we? Can we have 3-0 up at half time, please?
We do. We need a few goals. We need to start turning this place into a difficult for the opposition. You know, we've seen teams come and enjoy themselves. They look at the stadium, look at the pitch, and you know, oh, this is not bad. So we need to make it a little bit more difficult, and home form is going to win your promotion. That's as simple as that. And
I can't quite believe it, because I was asking Manny pre-game about playing in the blustery, windy conditions, but the weather has completely turned out on its head. It's looking really sunny and lovely out there, so hopefully a great 90 minutes of football to look forward to. So on that note, it's time for me to hand you over to this afternoon's commentators, Terry Smith, Greg Stubley and Steve Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Piercy. Thank you, Curbs. Yeah, Terrell is alongside me, alongside Steve Brown as well.